The Faith Militant Uprising, which lasted from late 41 AC to 48 AC, finally came to an end when King Jaehaerys I ascended the Iron Throne. His 55-year reign became the golden peak of House Targaryen's prosperity in every aspect, and his successor, Viserys I, inherited that same height of achievement. But the seeds of civil war began to sprout under Viserys I. In time, those seeds would ignite into the bloodiest conflict in the history of Westeros, the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons. And now, let us take a closer look at this brief yet devastating period. Note, this part is quite complex due to inheritance disputes and relationships between characters. As you read, please try to keep the characters distinct. Otherwise, it's very easy to get confused. I've done my best to write it as clearly as possible. My apologies in advance. 1. Viserys I ascended the throne, the Great Council of 101 AC. Jaehaerys I came to the throne very young, only 14, and ruled for 55 years. That long reign created an unfortunate problem. Many heirs died before they could succeed him. King Jaehaerys had 13 children, 7 of them sons: Aegon, Aemon, Balon, Aeron, Vagon, Valerian, and Gaemon. Aegon, Aeron, Valerian, and Gaemon all died young. Vagon devoted himself to study and became an archmaester at the Citadel, removing himself from the line of succession. At first, the heir was Prince Aemon, but he died in 92 AC. The succession then passed to his younger brother Balon, yet Balon died only 9 years later. With both sons gone, the inheritance now had to pass to Jaehaerys' grandchildren. There were 9 eligible claimants, and so King Jaehaerys convened the Great Council of 101 AC to settle the matter. Lords great and small were summoned, along with allies, knights, guardsmen, and even their attendants, to witness the decision. 9 candidates stood at the start, but after debate and careful consideration, only 2 remained as the strongest claimants: Laenor Velaryon and Viserys Targaryen. Why was a Velaryon in the succession? Because Jaehaerys' first heir, Prince Aemon, had a daughter with Lady Jocelyn Baratheon, Princess Rhaenys. Rhaenys married Lord Corlys Velaryon, and their only son was Laenor Velaryon, Aemon's sole grandson, and thus a valid claimant. Viserys, meanwhile, was the eldest son of Prince Balon, Aemon's successor, so his claim was equally clear. In theory, both were worthy. Laenor inherited Aemon's line, while Viserys had his own prestige. He was the last man to ride Balerion before the Black Dread died in 94 AC. Still, many lords favored the principle that a son's claim outweighs a daughter's. Viserys was Jaehaerys' grandson through a male line, while Laenor was only a grandson through a daughter. And there was another practical factor. Viserys was 24, while Laenor was only 7. Yet Laenor had a different advantage. He was the son of Lord Corlys Velaryon, the famed sea snake. Corlys commanded the largest and most powerful war fleet in Westeros, strength few dare defend. House Velaryon was also the oldest and most loyal vassal of House Targaryen. From Aegon I to Jaehaerys I, Velaryons had long held the office of admiral. Corlys himself had sailed to the ends of the known world, south and north alike. Rumors even claimed he had rounded the far north of Westeros, only turning back near Icewolf, where he found frozen seas and towering icebergs. But his greatest voyages, the ones that earned him the name Sea Snake, went farther still. Many Westerosi ships sailed as far as Qarth to trade, but Corlys journeyed beyond that, to the distant realms of Yi Ti and Leng. Those travels doubled the wealth of House Velaryon in a single voyage and made them one of the richest houses in Westeros. Corlys's wealth, fame, and power gave Laenor additional support. Lord Bormund Baratheon and Lord Ellard Stark backed the boy, as did House Blackwood, House Bar Emmon, and House Celtigar. But they were the minority. Most supported Prince Viserys. The result was decisive. Viserys was named Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne. 2 years later, King Jaehaerys died, mourned by all of Westeros, and even in Dorne men wept for him. A truly great king. Prince Viserys ascended as Viserys I and began his reign. Some may wonder why Viserys' accession matters so much. Because even at the Great Council, two factions had already begun to form among the lords, those who favored Laenor Velaryon and those who favored Viserys Targaryen. Later, that division widened, and many of those same lords would become key figures in the Dance of the Dragons, the Blacks and the Greens. 2. The first sparks of the Dance of the Dragons. After the long, peaceful reign of Jaehaerys I, Viserys sat the Iron Throne with no serious challenge, inheriting the prosperity his grandfather had built over more than half a century. House Targaryen was at its height under Jaehaerys, and Viserys worked to preserve that strength. Dragons filled the skies as they had since the doom of Valyria. Before the Civil War, Westeros had roughly 18 adult dragons. Yet the true origins of the coming war lay within Viserys's reign itself. In his early years, the one man most often at odds with him was his own brother, Prince Daemon Targaryen, though Viserys loved him dearly. Daemon was quick-witted and easily insulted, but also vibrant, daring, and extremely dangerous. He was knighted at 16, and King Jaehaerys himself rewarded him with Dark Sister for his courage. Daemon had supported Viserys at the Great Council, and when rumors spread that Lord Corlys Velaryon was preparing his fleet to defend Laenor's claim, Daemon gathered a band of loyal swords in response. Jaehaerys prevented bloodshed, but everyone remembered the lesson. Daemon Targaryen would do whatever it took to solve a problem, by force if necessary. Daemon married Rhea Royce in 97 AC, heir to the ancient seat of Runestone in the Vale. It was a strong match, but Daemon grew to dislike both the Vale and his wife, and the marriage turned cold. More obligation than union. Viserys refused his brother's pleas for annulment, and instead summoned him back to King's Landing to serve the realm. Daemon first held the office of Master of Coin, then Master of Laws, but the king's hand, Sir Otto Hightower, advised against granting him such power. Otto wanted Daemon off the small council, and he despised him. In 104 AC, Viserys appointed Daemon commander of the City Watch. Daemon improved their arms and training and clothed them in gold cloaks, the origin of their famous name. He often patrolled the streets with his men, and he became rapidly popular in King's Landing. Crime fell sharply, and the people came to love him. Viserys, though supported by capable advisors, faced one great problem. He had no son. Yet he seemed unconcerned, having quietly signaled that Princess Rhaenyra would succeed him, bringing her everywhere, even to council meetings. Rhaenyra was beloved by many lords, intelligent, beautiful, and sharp. She became a dragon rider at 7. Her dragon was Syrax. In 105 AC, Queen Aemma finally bore a son, Balon, but tragically, both mother and child died soon after. Exhausted by constant pressure over succession, Viserys formally named Rhaenyra Princess of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne. A grand ceremony was held. Hundreds of lords swore fealty to her. Complications deepened when Viserys announced he would marry Lady Alicent Hightower, daughter of his hand. The realm celebrated. Rhaenyra, still confirmed as heir, welcomed her stepmother, as they had often met in the Red Keep. But in the Vale, Daemon raged at the news and struck the messenger. On Driftmark, Lord Corlys and Princess Rhaenys were equally furious. Viserys had rejected a match with their daughter, Laena Velaryon. This pushed Daemon into alliance with the Sea Snake. Tired of waiting for a crown, many said he had backed Viserys at the Great Council because he expected to become Viserys' heir. Daemon set out to forge a kingdom of his own. Around that time, an alliance formed between the free cities of Myr, Lys, and Tyrosh, threatening the realm. The first battles began in 106 AC, when the Velaryon fleet, supported by Daemon and his dragon Caraxes, defeated the Triarchy at sea. For 2 years they won victory after victory, and in 109 AC, Daemon styled himself King of the Stepstones and the Narrow Sea. Viserys allowed him to keep the crown to avoid further trouble. In 107 AC, Queen Alicent gave Viserys a son, Aegon. Later came a daughter, Helaena, and another son, Aemond. With a male heir born, the question of succession inevitably resurfaced. Not only Alicent, but also Sir Otto grew anxious over the bloodline left by Queen Aemma. But in 109 AC, Otto overreached and was dismissed, replaced by Lord Lionel Strong. To Viserys, the matter was settled. The realm had sworn to Rhaenyra. Still, whispers spread that Prince Aegon should inherit. Two factions began to harden, slowly becoming clearer and more hostile. By late 111 AC, at Eternity, supporters of Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra were being called Greens and Blacks. The reason was simple. Alicent wore a gown of green, while Rhaenyra, asserting herself as the true heir, chose the black and red of House Targaryen. As the tourney unfolded, the shadow of a dragon swept across the sky. The crowd looked up to see Caraxes, Daemon Targaryen's dragon, the king of the Narrow Sea, returned from the Stepstones. Thousands cheered at the sight. Daemon still wore his crown when Caraxes landed, but then he knelt before his brother and removed it, offering proof of loyalty. Viserys raised him up, returned the crown, and kissed him on both cheeks. Even after all their turmoil, Viserys still loved his brother. The tourney roared with celebration, yet no one cheered louder than Rhaenyra, for she too adored her uncle. 3. Rising conflict, new crises. The death of Viserys I. One might think Daemon's return would ease tensions. Instead, they sharpened. Only months later, Daemon was exiled again. No one knows for certain why. Some claimed he quarreled with Viserys and stormed off. Others said Alicent convinced the king that Daemon did not belong at court. But other explanations seem more plausible. One story claims Sir Eric Cargill, a Kingsguard knight, caught Daemon and Princess Rhaenyra sleeping together, and Viserys, furious, banished his brother. Another claims Rhaenyra desired only Sir Criston Cole, but he rejected her. She then asked Daemon to teach her the arts of love, so she could seduce Criston into breaking his vows, only for Criston to recoil from her in disgust, and for Viserys to hear of it. Whatever the truth, what is known is this. Daemon asked to marry Rhaenyra if Viserys would set aside Daemon's marriage to Rhea Royce of Runestone. Viserys refused, exiled Daemon from the realm, and forbade him from returning. Daemon left Westeros and returned to war in the Stepstones. In 112 AC, Sir Criston Cole became Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, after Sir Harold Westerling died. In 113 AC, Princess Rhaenyra came of age, and men across Westeros sought her hand. Among them was Sir Harwin Strong, heir to Harrenhal, and said to be the strongest knight in the Seven Kingdoms. The Lannister twins, Sir Tylan and Sir Jason, competed to win her favor with lavish gifts. Others even fought duels over her, like the sons of Blackwood and Bracken. Rumors claimed Viserys considered marrying her to a Dornish prince to bring Dorne into the realm. Alicent proposed a match between Rhaenyra and Prince Aegon, but Viserys rejected it outright. In the end, the king accepted a betrothal between Rhaenyra and Corlys's son, Laenor Velaryon, once Viserys's rival claimant. Laenor carried dragon blood through both parents and even had his own dragon, Seasmoke. The match was meant to heal the rift between factions lingering since 101 AC. But there was a problem. Laenor, though 19, preferred the company of his guards and companions and showed no interest in women. Rhaenyra herself had no desire for this marriage, perhaps still hoping for Daemon or for Criston Cole. Viserys would hear none of it. He refused her objections, and when she pleaded in tears, he declared that if she rejected the marriage, he would reconsider the succession. And so Rhaenyra yielded. Many things followed, truth blurred by rumor. Some claim that after Cole spurned her, Rhaenyra gave her maidenhood to Harwin Strong. Whatever the truth, the wedding was held in 114 AC with a tourney to celebrate. Harwin Strong championed Rhaenyra, while Sir Criston Cole championed the royal party. Criston fought with a fury no one had ever seen, crushing every opponent. He even broke Harwin's bones. But the unluckiest man was Laenor's own champion, Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, a knight Laenor's age, strikingly handsome. Joffrey was injured so badly he died 6 days later, and Laenor wept bitterly. After the wedding, Laenor returned to Driftmark while Rhaenyra went back to Dragonstone. Many assumed the marriage could never be fulfilled with husband and wife living apart. Yet by the end of that year, Rhaenyra gave birth to her first child, Viserys Velaryon, though Laenor had hoped to name him Joffrey in memory of Lonmouth. And then the troubling truth. Both Rhaenyra and Laenor bore the Valyrian look, platinum hair, violet eyes, yet Viserys had brown hair and brown eyes, and resembled a smaller version of Sir Harwin Strong, who, coincidentally, was also at Dragonstone. Suspicions grew, but no one dared speak aloud. In the following years, 2 more Valyrian boys were born, Lucerys and Joffrey, and both also had brown hair and brown eyes like their elder brother. The Greens insisted they were Harwin Strong's bastards and claimed the boys could never hatch dragons. Yet, in bitter irony, each dragon egg Viserys gave them hatched: Vermax, Arax, and Tyraxes. With that, the rumors had to fall silent, at least openly, and Viserys kept Rhaenyra as his heir. But by 120 AC, tragedies struck one after another, events later seen as the firm foundation of civil war. First came the death of Laena Velaryon, Laenor's sister. In 115 AC, Daemon had secretly married her without telling Viserys. Daemon's first wife, Rhea Royce, had died in a hunting accident. Daemon himself had abandoned the Stepstone's crown because he had simply grown bored. Lena bore Daemon twin daughters, Baela and Rhaena. Viserys was furious at the secret marriage, but eventually summoned Daemon and the girls to the Red Keep in 117 AC. The king still loved his brother and hoped fatherhood would change him. In 120 AC, Lena tried to give Daemon the son he had always wanted, but the child was born horribly malformed and died, and Lena died with him. As Corlys and Rhaenys mourned their daughter, disaster struck again. Laenor died not long after. All accounts agreed he was killed at a fair in Spicetown. The presumed killer was his companion, some said his lover, Sergeant Carl Corey. Witnesses claimed the two quarreled, swords were drawn, and when the sea snake arrived, he found only his son's body. Carl fled and was never seen again. But another story spread, that Daemon had hired Carl to kill Laenor, freeing Rhaenyra to remarry. Then came a royal tragedy, a violent fight between Rhaenyra's sons and Prince Aemond. Still without a dragon, Aemond attempted to claim Vhagar, the dragon Lena had left behind. A brawl erupted after Aemond called Viserys and his brothers bastards, strong boys. They fought with fists, until Viserys drew a knife and took Aemond's eye. Aemond lost an eye, but gained Vhagar, and Vhagar was the greatest prize imaginable, the largest living dragon, a legend. Viserys tried desperately to keep the peace. He forbade anyone to insult Rhaenyra's children again on pain of having their tongue removed. He ordered Alicent and her children to remain in King's Landing, while Rhaenyra and her sons stayed on Dragonstone to keep them apart. Sir Eric Cargill, twin brother to Eric and also Kingsguard, was assigned to protect Rhaenyra in place of Harwin Strong. Harwin was sent back to Harrenhal. The final tragedy of that year was the Great Fire at Harrenhal, which killed Lord Lionel Strong and Sir Harwin Strong. Some suspected Daemon, again, but no proof existed. Afterward, Viserys restored Sir Otto Hightower as Hand, persuaded by Queen Alicent. Then, Rhaenyra married her uncle Daemon, and by the end of that terrible year, 120 AC, she bore a son named Aegon, later called Aegon the Younger, to distinguish him from Aegon the Elder, Alicent's eldest son. 2 years later, Rhaenyra had another son, Viserys, not very healthy but extremely intelligent. His dragon egg never hatched, and still the troubles multiplied. Aegon the Elder married his sister Helaena, who bore him twin children, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, later said to be strange, slow to develop, never crying or laughing like other children, and then another son, Maelor, in 127 AC. On Driftmark, the sea snake grew old. Without a clear lawful heir, despite many relatives, he chose Lucerys Velaryon as successor. Many Velaryons protested, especially Sir Vaemond Velaryon. Vaemond openly called Lucerys a strong bastard to Rhaenyra's face and declared the boy had no right to inherit Driftmark. Rhaenyra did not answer. She simply ordered Daemon to cut off Vaemond's head and feed his body to Syrax. But the matter did not end there. Vaemond's brothers went to King's Landing to bring the charge before the king. Viserys, though old, remained strong, Yet in his final years he was repeatedly injured by the Iron Throne itself. When the petitioners gathered in the Red Keep, Viserys listened in silence and then ordered all of their tongues removed, declaring, "You were warned, I will hear no more of these foul fables." When he tried to rise, a blade of the throne cut his left hand to the bone. The wound worsened until maesters amputated 2 fingers to prevent infection. To celebrate the king's recovery, a feast was held for the royal family. In Viserys' presence, Alicent and Rhaenyra smiled and behaved kindly, so did their children. But once Viserys retired, contempt and hatred showed plainly on the faces of the Greens and the Blacks. From late 128 AC into 129 AC, Viserys grew ill. One day in 129 AC, while playing with Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, he suddenly felt faint. Princess Helaena led the children away. Viserys lay down to rest and never woke again. He died after 26 years of rule. His reign continued his grandfather's success, but the unresolved bitterness he left behind would split House Targaryen in 2 and finally explode after his death. 4. The dance begins. A servant found the king's body and rushed to Queen Alicent. Instead of ringing the bells to announce the king's death, she summoned the leaders of the Green faction to plan. Queen Alicent and Lord Commander Sir Criston entered the king's chambers. After confirming Viserys was dead, Alicent ordered the room sealed. The servant who discovered the body was thrown into a cell so he could not speak. Sir Criston returned to the White Sword Tower and sent the Kingsguard to fetch the small council. Only 5 Kingsguard were in King's Landing at the time. Sir Criston Cole, Sir Eric Cargill, Sir Rickard Thorne, Sir Stephen Darklyn, and Sir Willis Fell. Sir Eric Cargill and Sir Laurent Marbrand were at Dragonstone with Princess Rhaenyra, unaware the king had died. Each Kingsguard went to the councillors' homes, some even to their beds, and escorted them to the Red Keep. They gathered in the queen's chambers while the king's corpse lay unattended, growing cold. Present were Queen Alicent Hightower, the Hand, Sir Otto Hightower, Lord Commander Sir Criston Cole and the Kingsguard, Grand Maester Orwyle, Lord Lyman Beesbury, Master of Coin, Sir Tyland Lannister, Master of Ships, Lord Larys Strong, Master of Whisperers, Lord Jasper Wilde, Master of Laws. Grand Maester Orwyle began by reciting the customs and procedures after a king's death. He said, Septon Eustace should be summoned to pray for his grace's soul. Ravens should be sent to Dragonstone to inform Princess Rhaenyra of the king's passing. Perhaps the queen should write the letter. She might soften the princess's grief. The bells are usually rung to announce a king's death. The city must know the king has passed. And of course, we must prepare for the coronation of Queen Rhae. Later, Sir Otto Hightower cut in. Until the succession is made clear, until our new king is crowned. Queen, Lord Beesbury snapped. King, Alicent replied. Only the eldest son of the king may sit the Iron Throne. The argument lasted until dawn. Lord Beesbury spoke constantly for Rhaenyra. He had served both Jaehaerys and Viserys. He reminded them that Rhaenyra was the king's firstborn and carried more dragon blood than her younger brothers, and that Viserys had insisted she was his heir. He said hundreds of lords and knights had knelt before her in 105 AC and sworn to defend her rights. But to Alicent and the Greens, it meant nothing. Sir Tyland argued that yes, many had sworn to Princess Rhaenyra, but most of those men were dead. It was 24 years ago, he said. Even I swore, though I was only a child. Lord Wilde invoked the Great Council of 101 AC and the earlier choice of Balon over Rhaenys after Aemon's death. He cited Aegon the Conqueror and his sisters and the Andal tradition. A son's claim comes before a daughter's. Ser Otto reminded them that Rhaenyra's husband was Prince Daemon. We know the kind of man he is, he said. Make no mistake, if Rhaenyra takes the throne, Daemon will rule us, another Maegor, cruel and without mercy. My head will be the first to fall, and I do not doubt it. Queen Alicent will be next. Alicent continued, and so will my children. Aegon and his brothers are the king's true-born sons, more fit heirs than Rhaenyra's bastard sons. Daemon will kill them all, even Helena and her little children. One of those strong boys took Aemon's eye. Never forget that. He was only a child, and yet these bastards are monsters by nature. Sir Criston Cole spoke next. He reminded them that if Rhaenyra died, Viserys would inherit, and only the Seven could save the realm if a bastard sat the Iron Throne. He spoke of Rhaenyra's attempts to seduce him and of the shame of her husband. "They will turn the Red Keep into a brothel," he said. "They will take your daughters, your wives, perhaps even your sons. We all know what Laenor Velaryon was. If we do this," Grand Maester Orwyle warned, "it will mean war. The princess will not accept it, and she has dragons." "And friends," Lord Beesbury declared. "Honorable men who will not forget their oaths to her and to her father. I may be old, but not so old that I will sit here while you plot to steal her crown." He rose to leave. Sir Criston forced him back into his chair, then slit his throat. Blood had been spilled at last. The first blood was black blood. It would not be the last. The remaining councillors then began planning the new king's coronation. Everyone agreed it must happen swiftly. They listed allies and enemies in case Princess Rhaenyra refused to accept King Aegon. And with Rhaenyra on Dragonstone, heavily pregnant, the Greens held the advantage. The longer it took for news to reach her, the better. "Perhaps the whore will die in childbirth," Queen Alicent said. No raven was sent. No bell was rung. Servants who knew of Viserys' death were imprisoned. Sir Criston ordered strict surveillance over the Blacks still in King's Landing, and over all lords and knights suspected of supporting Rhaenyra. "Do not use force unless they resist," Sir Otto commanded. "Those who kneel and swear to King Aegon will be safe." "And those who will not?" Grand Maester Orwyle asked. "Traitors," Lord Wilde said, "and they should die as traitors die." "Let us swear first," Lord Larry Strong spoke for the first time that night, "so that none among us can ever be called a traitor." Then he drew a knife and cut his palm. "A blood oath," he said, "to bind us until death." One by one they followed, cutting their palms, clasping hands, swearing brotherhood unto death. Queen Alicent was spared the knife as she was a woman. Then she ordered the Kingsguard to bring her children. Prince Daeron wept when he learned his father was dead. Prince Aemond was already in armor, preparing for morning training. When told, he asked Sir Willis Fell, "So Aegon will be king, or must we kneel and kiss that slut?" Princess Helena was at breakfast with her children. When asked where Aegon was, she answered, "He's not in my bed. Feel free to look under the blankets." Aegon was found with his mistress. At first he rejected his mother's plan. "My sister is the heir, not I," he said. What sort of brother steals his sister's birthright? Only when Sir Criston convinced him that Rhaenyra would kill him and his brothers once she was crowned did Aegon relent. "As long as true-born sons of Targaryen live," Criston said, "no strong boy can sit the Iron Throne. Rhaenyra will have no choice but to take your heads if she wants her sons to rule." That alone persuaded Aegon to accept the crown the small council offered. Sir Tywin Lannister was named Master of Coin in Beesbury's place. He divided the royal treasury into 4 parts, one sent to the Iron Bank of Bravos for safekeeping, one to Casterly Rock, one to Oldtown, and the last reserved to hire sellswords if needed. To replace Tywin as Master of Ships, Sir Otto sent a raven to the Iron Islands, inviting Lord Dalton Greyjoy, a brutal raider famed since 16, called the Red Kraken, and offering alliance. Day after day passed. No Septon was summoned to tend the king's body. No bells rang. Ravens flew, but not to Dragonstone. Instead, they went to Oldtown, Casterly Rock, Riverrun, Highgarden, and to lords and knights loyal to Queen Alicent. Since the Great Council of 101 AC, many lords had favored sons over daughters, but the situation now was different. Princess Rhaenyra would surely have the support of the Sea Snake and the Valyrian fleet, as well as several narrow sea lords, Bar Emmon, Massey, Celtigar, Crabbe, even House Tarth. Yet aside from the Valyrians, these houses were small. The true danger lay in the north. Winterfell would follow Rhaenyra. Stark had once favored Rhaenys over Balon at Harrenhal in 92 AC, and their allies would likely follow. Dustin of Barrowton, Manderley of White Harbor. House Arryn had not committed, but the Eyrie was ruled by a woman, so the Vale might back Rhaenyra, or at least remain neutral. The greatest uncertainty was House Baratheon. They too had once supported Rhaenys at Harrenhal. Though old Lord Bormund had died, his son Boros was even more warlike, and the Stormlands would follow him, whichever side he chose. "Then we must bring him to the king," Queen Alicent said. She immediately sent her second son to Storm's End. She did not send a raven, she sent a dragon. And not just any dragon. Vhagar, the oldest and largest dragon in Westeros, carrying Prince Aemond Targaryen. "Your purpose is to wed one of Lord Baratheon's daughters," Sir Otto told him. "Any one of the four. Court her, marry her, and Boros will follow Aegon. If you fail—" "I will not fail," Aemond cut him off. "Aegon will have Storm's End, and I will take the girl." After Aemond departed, the stench of the king's corpse began to spread through Maegor's holdfast. Stories and rumors multiplied. The black cells beneath the Red Keep swallowed anyone suspected of disloyalty. Even the High Septon began asking about the missing and sent letters to the Starry Sept in Old Town. Sir Otto, careful as ever, wanted more time to prepare. But Queen Alicent knew they could delay no longer. Prince Aegon grew impatient with the secrecy. "Am I king or not?" he demanded. "If I am king, then crown me." At last, the bells rang, bells that ended an era. Grand Maester Orwyle was allowed to send black ravens across the realm announcing King Viserys' death and Aegon's accession. The king's body was washed for cremation. Knights rode through King's Landing shouting, "King Viserys is dead, long live King Aegon." Some wept, some celebrated, but most of the common folk stared at one another, confused, cautious, then joined the chant only to cry instead, "Long live Queen Rhaenyra." Meanwhile, preparations for the coronation moved with brutal speed. The Dragon Pit was chosen. Its colossal stone walls, stout roof, and bronze gates made it a fortress against any traitor who might try to disrupt the ceremony. On the day of coronation, Sir Criston Cole placed the crown of Aegon the Conqueror upon the head of the son of Viserys and Alicent and proclaimed him, Aegon II, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, Protector of the Realm. The High Septon in Old Town was too old to travel, so Septon Eustace anointed Aegon with the 7 holy oils and blessed him. Many in attendance smiled and cheered, but their eyes said something else, hatred, unmistakable, at the sight of Aegon openly stealing his sister's crown. Aegon's banners rose across King's Landing. Not the red 3-headed dragon on black, but a gold 3-headed dragon on black. Perhaps in honor of Aegon's own dragon, Sunfire, golden-scaled and said to be the most beautiful dragon alive. And so, with the coronation of Aegon II as the turning point, the Dance of the Dragons officially begins. Rhaenyra does not yet know, but soon the news will reach Dragonstone, and there is no doubt she will not allow her throne to be stolen so brazenly. What will the Blacks and the Greens do next? Stay tuned for the next part, when the first battles erupt, heralding a civil war of unprecedented bloodshed and brutality, made all the more terrifying by the fact that both sides possess the ultimate weapon, dragons.